right, so I want to get a huge election update going here as far as who's controlling the not just the Arizona Legislature, but I'm more optimistic today than I was yesterday when it comes to the control of Congress, of the House. Mm-hmm. What are we off by now? I think, is it 8 seats for Republicans to get control or retain control?
Was the Republicans have locked up 209 and you need 218 to control.
Okay, so 8 more, and 2 of those could come from Arizona. So let me pull up and I guess let me preface this with these numbers are still changing. Most states, they know how to count. They don't use Common Core math, or I don't know, maybe people that didn't make it through Common Core math even. I don't want to be that critical, but come on, really?
I know, right?
I was just reading that Arizona is expected to just begin counting and verifying all the signatures on the same day ballot drop. So the people that had the early ballots that went to the polling place, which I was telling people, I was like, don't do this because this bottlenecks the system. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But if it's your last resort, if you didn't...
Right, if that's all you have, right?
You didn't get your ballot in 4 weeks, which to me is like, what were you doing? I mean, I'm glad you went and voted finally on election day. Well, what the heck, man? Let's tighten this up. So I was just hearing that they're just starting to unseal those and verify the signatures and count those same day ballots. The early ballots that got mailed out that people dropped off. They're just doing that like today in Maricopa. So it's like 1 million more ballots statewide.
Still a million? It was a million yesterday.
That's what they keep saying. I don't think anyone really knows. This is just the big unknown here. But 1 million ballots. Now, you've worked the polls before. Some of these are provisionals and things that might wind up in the shredder or something. I don't know. How's it work?
They have provisional ones. And those, to my recollection, because it was a while ago that I did that, those are ones where you're at the right place, you're at the right precinct, but for some reason, like you're not on the list or something like that.
Yeah. There's something wrong or something they're not able to verify.
And so you vote and then they verify later that, yes, you should have been on the list, or whatever. Okay. And then there's conditional ones too, where either you don't have ID or you are not at the right place or whatever, and they'll give you a conditional one. But I think a lot of the conditional ones start failing towards the end. There's always that group of them, but we're not talking, millions of ballots on those.
I hear you, but okay, here's the deal, because I'll get into these numbers, and we're going to go through the presidential race. We're going to go through Kari Lake and Gallego, that race, and then the 2 seats that are undecided for Arizona for the House, for Congress, and how those 2 are playing big into the 8 that are needed for the Republicans to control. But also the issue of the legislature, the Arizona Legislature, and is the GOP going to maintain control? Mm-hmm. Is the GOP going to maintain control in the House and the Senate? I think they are, but we'll break down all those details for you. But before I do that, here's how we can fix this, is we need to follow what Senate President Warren Peterson is pushing, which is to amend Arizona law. And he tried to do this, I think, the last legislative session or not too far in the past. And we just cut off on Friday. Friday is the deadline going forward to drop off your early ballots in the, at the county boxes and all that, right? The recorder's office. We need to change this law because this is embarrassing.
And the strategy behind that is, or not strategy, but just idea behind that is that they would have more time to start counting those ballots, verifying the signatures, counting them, and, therefore be ahead. It gives them the tally and not behind. It
gives
them
the weekend. So Friday before the Tuesday election, right? You've had 4 weeks to get your ballots in. They were mailed 4 weeks before that. Get it done. Get it taken care of. You have to drop it off by Friday by 5 p.m. or else too bad. Then you have to go to the polling place on Tuesday. All early voting ends. All mail-in ballot and voting ends the Friday before the election. Nobody's voting after 5 p.m. Friday into Saturday, into Sunday, into Monday, until 6 a.m. Tuesday, election day, till 7 p.m. That's plenty of time. Now, here's the problem. Senate President Peterson will probably push this bill, and we'll try to get him on the show here before the session begins to talk about this, because I'd love to, throw our weight behind it as well and try to get this thing passed. But Katie Hobbs, Democrat, will most likely veto it because she's going to be like, oh, we're interfering with the vote, or we're precluding people from voting, which is a load. Suppressing the vote, which is a load of crap because you have 4 weeks before to get it done. I'm sorry if you can't figure this out in 4 weeks. I don't know. Are we really, going to be happy about you voting? Are you competent enough to even, I get accidents happen. Okay. I don't want to, I don't underscore that, or downplay that. But that's life. Sometimes you were talking about the primary that we missed because Owen decided to come along. Yeah. Right. Or one of the kids. I can't remember.
That was Owen.
Yeah, that was Owen. So that
he was
life.
Born the day before the primary and I was in the hospital and
so that's how we fix this.
I couldn't vote.
Yeah, that's how we fix this. Is we cut off the early ballot and early voting at Friday at 5 p.m. No emergency voting. That's it. Come on, let's stop trying to appease everybody.
Right.
Let's stop being that country and get out of the DEI. Everything's going to be equal. Everything's going to be great. There's going to be unicorns and rainbows. Just sometimes life is unlucky and things just don't work out right.
Yeah.
So let's move on. Okay, so where do we stand right now with? Let's start with. What do you want to hit on first? The Senate? No, let's hit on Congress. Let's stick with Congress. So we need 8 more for the Republicans. You're saying it's 209 in the House for Congress.
Yeah. This is according. Well, I think a lot of sites have
some have it at a little less.
Now. Yeah.
But you need 218 to actually control and and be in control of the House. That's not enough because you're going to get a couple of rhinos, but
for sure.
We got to take what we can get and hopefully hold their feet to the fire. Now, 2 may come from Arizona. So here's the status of the race in Arizona. We've got obviously 9 congressional districts and 7 of the races have all been called. And we're looking at right now that there's, let's see, let me run through them real quick. You got Eli Crane, Republican, who definitely won District 2. You've got Yasmin Ansari, who's a Democrat that won District 3, who from every indication I've seen, she ran the seat that Gallego was holding. She's uber left. Like we're talking I thought like Ocasio-Cortez. Greg Stanton, he won and retained his seat for District 4. Andy Biggs retained his District 5. And then you've got Grijalva, who's retaining District 7. You got Abe Hamaday, who's a newcomer, who now is a Republican for District 8. And then, of course, Paul Gosar, who is going to hold on to District 9. So the 2 districts still in question that really the country is watching and waiting and wondering why Arizona can't count, and most states can and can't get this stuff done, is David Schweikert for District 1 versus Amash Shah of a Democrat. Right now, what's the number you got there?
Well, Schweikert is leading right now by 9,400.
He was behind.
Yeah, he was behind, and then it turned, and now he's over 9,000 ahead.
This is looking good for Schweikert.
Yeah.
That's what, 2% approximately, 48, 49. Yeah, over 2%, approximately 2% that he's up by. That's a pretty comfortable lead, but with supposedly 1 million ballots to count, but it's not 1 million in his district.
Yeah, it's only in District 1.
Yeah, exactly. So how many of those million are in District 1? And there will be a point where they'll be able to call this race if these numbers start to hold. And let's say District 1.
Well, and his lead gains because he was behind and now he's
So let's say District 1, and I haven't done the math on that. I haven't looked into the individual counties reporting, but let's say District 1 only has, 75,000 outstanding ballots. It gets to a point pretty quick where it's hard to overcome that lead. You would have to why would it break so hard for the Democrat at that point, right? So I think Schweikert's going to take that, and I think that will put the House at 7 away from Republicans retaining control. The one that's in question still that I think is a lot tighter is for District 6. And let me start off with saying like that. I want Juan Ciscomani. He's a first-term congressman. He's a Republican. This is Southern Arizona. I want him to win. I've been critical of him because I don't think he's a very strong conservative. Yeah. He's not he's not in line with like a Biggs or Gosar or Crane or now Hamaday. He's not jumping into the Freedom Caucus. He's kind of, to me, he's a regular old school kind of little rhino-ish party guy, right? But I want him over the Democrat Kirsten Engel, because I got some comments about that. It's like, because I kind of ripped him, and I actually called him a little bit of a wet noodle. And it's just because I'm sick of these weak rhino-esque Republicans, right? But I want him in there, and he's just a tool. Right? Okay, because he's going to get in there and it's going to be super close, and he knows he's going to have to go along with the way this Congress is going, which it's more of a MAGA conservative Congress now coming up. The old guard's getting tossed out or put on the fringe. So I think he'll go along. So he's a good enough tool that, of course, I want him over Kirsten Engel. But make no mistake, if we could primary him next time and get a true hardcore conservative, I'd be a lot happier. So he's leading by what? Siscomani.
1,600 votes,
okay,
which is just like 0.5%.
So it's close. I'd still not. If the Republicans lose this seat, it won't surprise me, because it's a pretty.
They've been back and forth the whole time.
This district is it's pretty dead even, but I think it leans a little more liberal because it doesn't include Tucson and areas like that.
Yeah, and I think that's why he is the way he is, as far as not as strong of a conservative as Crane or Biggs or Gosar or any of.
Yeah, but I don't need to be a cheerleader for that. I know.
I know. I'm just saying that.
He's better than Engel, but he's a weak conservative. Yeah, I wouldn't even put him as a conservative. He's a McCain-like Republican, which if we can use him and get him to vote in line, that's fine. But
maybe
don't
with
expect
the Republican majority, he will side more with that.
I don't expect him to be some big conservative leader all of a sudden. Yeah. Come on. So anyway, I still think the Dems might take that one, but let's just be optimistic. I'm not like here to cheerlead stuff. Some people get mad at me when I had people mad at me on Twitter, on X, when I was saying, I think Juan's going to lose. Oh, you got to be more supportive. This is not like, if I will it to happen. Yeah. My job here is to tell you like what's real, man. What's going on and what I think is going to happen. I could be wrong. And I hope I am. I hope Juan Siscomani wins, and it gives the Republicans one more, I don't know. I'd call him a pawn to hopefully vote along. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. I hope he does. So there's that. And then, of course, some of these are in California, and there's some other states as well. I didn't need to go through that whole list, but there's several races that are like a point or half a point spread between a Democrat and a Republican, that it could go either way. Right. I don't know. I'm pretty confident that they're going to get this, though.
Well, and judging by Trump win and the Senate majority, it could happen, or hopefully it does. Okay, so let's switch to that. And in a bit, we'll get to the Arizona stuff and the legislature here, because I got some big updates on that. But the U.S. Senate is still holding at 52 to, what do they have it at, 46? If we look at the check marks that the races have been declared. I think it's 52 to 46. So right now, worst case scenario, the U.S. Senate is sitting at 52 to 48, assuming if the Democrats do pick up those two last seats. Although I see there was three seats in question, so maybe it's 45, 52 to 45. The states that are in question still are Arizona, and we'll get to Kari Lake and Ruben Gallego race here in just a second. Nevada has a very close race for the U.S. Senate, and Pennsylvania. So it's basically that's what's outstanding still. But at a minimum, the Republicans look to be at 52 to 48 to take control of the U.S. Senate. That's good news, because that actually gives them a 3-seat buffer, if I'm looking at this right, because you got J.D. Vance, he'd be the tiebreaker. And the reason why I say this is because let's say the Republicans have a 52 to 48 control, you've got two wet noodle rhino weak Republicans in there. You got Maine. What's her name? And then you got the other girl up in Alaska. Yeah. So you got Maine and Alaska. You don't need to get the name. Don't worry about it. You got the Maine and the Alaska senators that are just like McCain rhino type people who will flip on the big issues. Like they'll get all scared and little timid little creatures. Something. Well, but they're very rhino-esque. Like if you get to something real hardcore conservative, Murkowski and the other one. It'll come to me in a little bit. They're weak rhinos, right? So in that scenario, you got 50-50. They'll side with the Democrats, right? So then you have J.D. Vance come in and he can tie break this, and we can get some stuff done. So I'm confident about that. However, there's three races that are still outstanding. Here in Arizona, we got Lake and Gallego. Nevada, you got Brown and Rosen. In Pennsylvania, you got McCormick and Casey. I think that there's a probability that
the Republicans are going to win one of those. And if I were just to play the odds here, right, and looking at
the Pennsylvania Republican is ahead. It's really close, but that one's ahead. Yeah,
48.9% to 48.5%. That's McCormick over the Democrat Casey, and I think Casey's the
and that's 98%.
98% reporting. So the outs for Casey, I don't know what triggers a recall. You know, every state is different. Not a recall, recount.
Recount.
Yeah. I think sometimes if we could do a recall on some of these people, right? So I think there's a likely pickup there, and we may see a 53 to 47. They do that math, right? 53 to 47 Republican control. With a 3-seat buffer for rhino problems, and then Vance coming in and stomping it down and saying, so it gives us a good margin. I mean, this is a good change. Now the question that's out there is who's going to be the Senate leader.
Right.
Thank you. You know, McConnell gone. Okay.
Yeah. He says he's not going for it, and you got people lining up already.
The guy's 183 years old.
And if what I heard is correct, they're voting on it next week.
Okay, good. Yeah, you got to get this done quick.
Yeah.
So I've heard names. I mean, you got Scott in Florida, right? I've heard, is it Mike Lee? I've heard him, I think him being thrown out. I've heard all kinds of names on this one.
Yeah,
I'd take any of them. I mean, I would throw a Rand Paul in there. Although what's the likelihood of another Senate leader coming from Kentucky, because McConnell's from Kentucky?
Yeah.
I guess Rubio's not in it because Scott's going for it. But I wouldn't mind a Rubio. Somebody of that. You know, in that caliber, I think would be great and would be hardcore. But we'll see. So that's good news. Now, I guess there's an outside chance that in Nevada, it's Brown is 46.7% right now for the Senate, and Rosen is at 47.6. There's 93% reporting, so that's becoming a little harder to get to. The big one here that we're following in Arizona, obviously, is Kari Lake versus Ruben Gallego. Well, they're saying 70% report
that's what
is in, but I
says,
see different numbers all over the place.
Yeah.
We hear 1 million more ballots to be counted in Arizona. So obviously the million plays because it's a statewide race. So Kari Lake right now at 47.9% to Gallego's at 50.0. What's the number? What's the actual number of votes?
The votes separating them?
Yeah.
52,574.
Okay.
Right now.
I don't know. I mean, I hope Lake wins. I mean, I've endorsed her 4 times now.
Yeah, well,
so 4 times. I hope she wins.
1.3 million, over 1.3 million voted for Trump, and not even 1.2 voted for Lake. I mean, if those 100,000 would have just gone with her?
Yeah.
But I don't understand.
I don't understand what happened.
I mean, you get people that don't like someone, and they, for whether it's Trump or Lake,
personality
it's
issue,
just, I don't want to vote for that. But 100,000+
that she trailed behind Trump.
Less than it's like 100 and almost 20,000.
It baffles me. We talked about this yesterday, how independent Arizona is as far as you can have a state that the immigration issue and state enforcement, the Enforce the Border Act or Border Act, whatever it's called, passes overwhelmingly. Yet abortion passes overwhelmingly.
Yeah.
It's just it doesn't correlate to me.
The governor.
Yeah, we have a Democrat governor
situation.
Yeah, we have a Democrat governor, but we have a Republican legislature. I mean, the state is all over the map. It's like someone else referred to it as schizophrenic as far as its political identity. But how do people not vote for Kari Lake, but at the same time vote for Donald Trump?
Yeah, and the thing,
they're so similar. It's the same thing.
Ideologically, they're very, very close. So it has to be some other reason.
It's a personality thing.
Yeah, I can only think that it's a personality thing, because ideologically they're basically the same candidate.
They are. I mean, it's some people have referred to her as female Trump, know. Or mini Trump or something. I'm not trying to be critical. Let me because people wig out when you just don't just row and rah the team, right? Yeah. And whatever, it's just let's be adults here. There's something that I hope she still wins, but there's something that just that hasn't clicked, and I don't understand.
Over 130,000 voters chose Trump, but not her.
Yeah, and it's just baffling. But I still am trying to understand the 130,000 voters that check the box for Trump, but don't check the box for Lake, because obviously the 130,000 odd voters were like, we got a really bad immigration problem. Inflation's out of control. We're on the verge of World War III because Kamala Harris and the Democrats are the warmonger party now. And they're checking the box thinking these things and many others.
Yeah,
but why would you check this?
I know, fix that stuff.
I mean, Gallego ran a smooth campaign and he lied. He said he was for I'm going to fix the inflation. When he voted for everything that caused the inflation, he said, oh, we got to do something about the border and immigration. It's like, are you kidding me? You caused the border surge. And then all the international crap. How many times did he vote for Ukraine? I mean, he'd love to hand deliver the big check to Zelensky himself. And I guess just maybe people bought it. And maybe, the slick ad he was running, I've had many titles. I was this, and I'm father, and and now I want to be senator. I mean, it's so cornball, but people buy that crap.
Yeah.
The 1 minute ad and they buy it. I don't know, maybe Lake had a problem with, I think it goes back to the same problem that Harris had. There's a lot of women voters that, might have not clicked with. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
I don't know either. I wish I did, because I voted for Trump and Lake.
Yeah. So no,
I couldn't imagine not voting, in line on something as
even
important
if you had
as
a personality issue, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, here's someone I'm talking. I've endorsed Kerry like 4 times now, 2 primaries and 2 general elections, and I was like warning people. I was saying, don't vote based on. This was more for the legislature. I was warning people. I know you might have a tiff with this senator, or for example, LD7. The Wendy Rogers camp on the Senate side, and then the Blackman and Marshall camp on the House side, but they're in the same district. They're all Republicans. That was brutal.
That was infighting and stuff.
Infighting. Yeah. But I was like, get over it and vote for all of them. So I guess we should have been pounding that more on Carrie Lake. It's like, get over it if you have a personality qualm with her, because now we're in a situation where we could be looking at a situation because what's Carrie, about 2.5% behind now, 50,000 votes,
2% or so.
I mean, I'm pulling for her. It's possible, but there's less probability that she can pull ahead just doing the math.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's impossible. Don't get me wrong.
50,800 votes.
Yeah.
Is what it equals.
So
she would have to not only make up, but then go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not saying that it's impossible for her. I'm just saying that it becomes harder and harder. Okay. Yeah. Any comments? I'd love to hear from you. You can comment in the podcast, video on X, video on YouTube, and also email. We love hearing from you by email. talkwithjeff@icloud.com. Okay, let's switch to did we do Congress? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's hit the legislature then. When we broke this all down for you yesterday, the Arizona legislature looked like it was deadlocked. Election night, it was looking like the Democrats may take control. I was thinking we were at 14-16. Then yesterday, it flipped to a deadlock, 15-15. I'm talking the Arizona Senate now. It looks like now the Arizona Senate is probably sitting at 16-14 for the GOP, for the Republicans. And that's where it's at right now. So it's staying the same. But there's still 6 races that are within a couple points. And there's definitely a couple of them that are like within, I think there's 500 or 600 or 700 votes on some of these races. So I think it's very possible that the Republicans could actually pick up one more seat, and we could be looking at a 17-13 Republican Senate here in Arizona. But I think we're looking at a minimum.
If we just hold the 16,
I think we're looking at a minimum of 16-14. Some of these are really close. Like Shauna Bollock, she pulled ahead in District 2. She's a Republican. And then we've got the Werner Marsh race, and Werner has pulled ahead by 1,625 votes. That's in District 4. Bear with me as I scroll here. I think District 9 is out of reach for the Republicans. And then you've got District... It's coming. It takes a while to scroll through all these. You got District 17. Vince Leach is the Republican. He's served before. I think he sat out a term, and now he's obviously running. He's behind by 763 votes. So that one's possible. And then you've got, I think, one more here. You've got District 23. The Republican right now is down by 912 votes in 23. That's Michelle Althier and Brian Fernandez is a Democrat. So it's possible. I mean, but I think it'll hold at least at that 16-14. And then we've talked with Senate President Warren Peterson. He intends to run and hopefully be the Senate president once again, unless the Dems are able to pull off a kind of a miracle here at this point. I don't think so, though. I don't think they'll be able to do that. So any others on that one?
Not that are real close.
Yeah, the rest are
like in the thousands.
The rest are pretty far apart. So you have a couple that could actually flip. So on the House side, we've got for the Arizona Legislature, we're talking now. You've also got 6 races that are super close. It remains super close with, I don't know, tens of thousands of votes to count in each of those districts. Probably we've got 30 congressional or 30 legislative districts in the state. So it becomes even harder because if there's 1 million outstanding votes, how many can be in that 30? You're talking tens of thousands.
Yeah.
So it becomes hard to break that if you're too far behind. But it's District 2, 9, 13, 17, and 23. With the Republicans looking like they're going to have a 32-28 majority and maybe pick up one more seat. I'm not sure. We'll see, but I think it's going to hold at that. So that's good news.
Yeah, for
sure.
We'll
take that. I mean, the Senate seat for Kari Lake's uncertain, but it's pretty good news when it comes to, the Arizona Legislature. I was concerned we were going to lose a House. We're going to lose the House or the Senate.
Right.
I actually thought the House was at more risk than the Senate. But it looks like we're going to hold out pretty good. And this is really important. If your kids go to, how many families or kids are on ESAs now? 80 plus
like
thousand?
80 something thousand.
Yeah. So this is good news if if you're concerned about that, because Governor Hobbs has vowed to get rid of this thing, and the Democrats have vowed. So if they had gotten control,
I know, I was worried about that.
Yeah, so. And hopefully President Trump has talked about a national ESA program. I don't know if we need to go that route. I just think we need to keep pushing states, to do this and to look at the Arizona model and see how much it's actually saving money. They said it was going to bankrupt the state, which I don't hear them talking about that anymore. But what a bunch of idiots speak. That it's actually going to bankrupt the state. So there we go. Let's see. Do we have any other updates on any races that we want to hit on? Let people know about. I mean, the legislature was my biggest one. I know you have some local races.
Well, yeah, we didn't. Or I don't know if you talked about like the Sedona, the homeless car park thing.
I don't think I did. Yeah. So we had here in Arizona, we had a San Francisco style homeless encampment on the ballot in Sedona. What was that? A few months? Well,
this was because the city council bought that former park, like a city park.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't, but they bought it as a city park, and they were going to turn it into an overnight accommodation area for people to sleep in their cars.
Yeah. A homeless car park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the council just went ahead and pushed it through.
Yeah.
And so
they didn't go to a vote, they voted, the council members.
Yeah. And so a bunch of the citizens got together and were like, we don't want this, especially people that live around there, because there's people literally, across the street from that. And, so and how were the results on that? I actually didn't do the numbers.
It got swamped. But what happened was, I'll give you the results here in a second, but what happened was we actually I think we had a guy on the program a few months ago. He had actually moved from Portland.
Yeah, from Oregon.
And he bought, you figure coming to Arizona and there's this, you think, it's going to be red and super conservative. And it's like, well, wait a second, you're moving to Sedona, not exactly the bastion of conservatism in the state, right? And he buys, I don't know what he spent. I don't want to speculate, but Sedona homes are generally well over $1 million, right? So you escape Portland. Remember they had was that the Chaz camp, or was that in Washington? Remember they had the people taking over
Seattle, but maybe
whatever. Yeah, but Portland has, it's crazy.
Similar.
It's called weird when you go there.
Keep Portland weird.
Keep Portland weird, and it's weird when you go through there. But he calls up, and some people got me in touch with him, and he's like, basically, I moved to a little mini Portland here. And right next to him was this beautiful city park that they spent over $20 million on.
It had this outdoor amphitheater type thing.
The city bought it, tax dollars. The city doesn't buy nothing because they don't have any money.
But it's perfect for city events or concerts or, things like that.
And they have the nerve to vote. Let's put a homeless park right there. You come park and you can live in here. And anyway, the citizens of Sedona were like, heck no. And they went out and got a bunch of signatures, put this on the ballot. When I checked yesterday morning, because Sedona is weird because it's in Coconino and Yavapai County.
Mainly Yavapai,
Yeah,
but
it was
some
like
Coconino.
it got it was well over 60% voted. You had to vote no. Basically, you're getting rid of it.
Yeah.
So last I checked, and if anyone's in Sedona, if you got an update on this one, because I find it fascinating, it went down in a ball of flames.
So I wonder what will happen now. I mean, I guess the city owns it, but they just can't turn it into a homeless.
Yeah, they can keep it a park or.
So I wonder what they'll do, if they'll try and sell it or if they'll try and.
I'm a big fan of, you should sell city property. If you look at your community, your town, your city, they own so much real estate and so much pointless real estate. These little slivers of land, 1/4 acre lots, this and that are just sitting there. They're usually all overgrown and weed infested. And then people use it and there's crime and this and that. In my opinion, city should be selling, contact the adjacent property owners. I know we have a gift clause in Arizona where you can't just, give stuff away, which I get that. But put it out to bid, and the property owners next to it may be like, I'll buy that little sliver, or I'll buy this, because the government cannot manage property. I mean, look, we live in a state where we have 20% private property if we're lucky.
At the most.
And we got the national government that owns a lot. We've got the feds that own a lot, BLM land, national parks, this and that. Every time I say this, people are like, Jeff wants to sell the Grand Canyon. That's not the case. I mean, we've got so much just raw land, and it burns down. They don't take care of it. They can't. And then it's not even on the tax rolls. Not that I'm a fan of property taxes, but I always like to throw that out there.
Yeah, when the city owns a bunch of stuff, they can't tax it.
I always put that
taxing themselves.
Yeah, I always put that out there to try to attract the leftists, saying, hey, if you got this on the tax rolls, you get more money for your dopey, union schools and stuff like that. But, just
libraries and all that stuff.
And then later we can go after and try to get rid of property taxes, I hope, So anyway, it looks like that got slaughtered pretty good. Down there. So, so that's, that one. And then of course in Flagstaff, we already mentioned this, the city that residents love to complain about the cost of living. And then
they also love to increase the taxes and regulations.
They vote for every tax increase imaginable. And in this case, they voted, when you come to Flagstaff, we have a 2% BBB tax. So when you go to a restaurant or a hotel, or a bar, I guess,
campground and stuff,
any kind of a thing like that, you get another 2% on top of your burger. So, you get to add that. So it adds up. But the locals pay for it too. We don't have a Flagstaff card that says, we're excluded.
Oh, I live in Flagstaff. I don't have to pay this.
Yeah, right. It'd be good.
Yeah.
So anyway, Flagstaff voted to extend that BBB tax. Now, what's interesting is Flagstaff has a sustainability department. And by the way, two things. If you're in a town or a city that is thinking about starting a sustainability department, go down there and protest, because these are wastes. This is like welfare jobs, basically, for people to run these departments. And then also if they try to do a public pool, that's my big thing, is don't let them run a pool or anything, as a matter of fact. Flagstaff's sustainability department sucks up about 5% of the general fund. And they go to Vegas to get awards and stuff.
That's a lot of money, people.
Vegas, probably one of the most unenvironmentally friendly cities in the world. They go there to get an award about how
they have fountains they're all reclaimed water. And
you just can't make this stuff up. It's unbelievable.
The electric is all solar.
Yeah, it's
all those lights.
So anyway, I propose that I figure a good way to help the environment would be to go to all the busy intersections with white gloves and stand on one of those chairs like in Southeast Asia and direct the traffic, with the whistle and stuff, and put the sustainability people out there, or fix potholes, because that causes a lot of problems. If you blow a tire, that's not good for the environment.
Right.
So far, they haven't taken me up on my advice, but I hope they do someday.
You know what, real quick, I saw a person this morning, and for those of you not in Flagstaff, we woke up to more snow this morning. Yeah,
it's just surprise snowstorms.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Even if it's just an inch or two, it's just enough to get the streets icy and the traffic snarls up. And well, I saw a guy out there with the Mountain Line bus system.
Yeah, our local transit system. Okay.
Yeah. He had his truck, but he was out with the leaf blower, cleaning out the
blowing
bus
the
stop.
Snow? Okay.
Not the snow. It was like cleaning the leaves and stuff. And I'm thinking, it's wet and it's snow everywhere. Yeah. Maybe it's not the best time to be out with the leaf blower, because it's all stuck to the ground.
Your problem is
what a waste.
Your problem
I'm sorry.
is you're
I know it's a
thinking
job
private
for
sector.
someone, but what a waste.
You're thinking private sector though. See, that was slated to be cleaned at that time on that day, and that's
it
what
was
the
like scheduled that day.
Yes, that's what the clipboard says. So you do it. I mean, that's the way it is. But I'd say get rid of a lot of these bus stops. But that's another one. The city of Flagstaff voted to charge.
Now the bus has more money.
The tax is going up so they can provide electric buses. So the rest of the country voted for Trump. Overwhelmingly. I mean, Trump is 312 on the Electoral College now. Yeah. Let me see if I have this one. I don't have it. 312 to 226 or something that she has. I can't remember the exact number. And is winning. Yeah, here it is. 312 to 226. Same, remember that. He's probably going to wind up with 80 plus million, 85 million popular vote. And she's like 75, 78, something. We'll see what happens. I mean, we're all waiting on Arizona to still count. Overwhelmingly wins. One of his things is he's going to come in, pull us back out of the Paris Accords, get rid of the EV mandates. And then we happen to live in a city while the rest of the country's finally realized that's a bunch of garbage. And it does nothing other than cause people misery and cause inflation. And in Flagstaff, they're going to buy more e-buses. Yeah. These big electric buses that really, if you're going to have a bus system, get a diesel bus, haul people around, but we don't need e-buses. But that's what people in Flagstaff voted for overwhelmingly, which is going to increase the sales tax.
And more
then they're going to bitch.
More,
Then they're going to bitch that it's too expensive in Flagstaff. We need to raise the minimum wage again.
Or we need to help people more.
You can't make this stuff up with these people. All right, did we cover everything with the?
Yeah, the only other thing was like that Lisa DuVernay. You had her on from Cottonwood, and she was facing a recall election. She lost.
Lisa DuVernay seemed like a pretty conservative woman to me, and she dared to question Cottonwood doing the drag story time for kids on a city facility. She got recalled for that. You'd think. And
she lost. She only got 32%. It was a blowout.
I'm not ingrained with that kind of local politics as much, but my observation has been that Cottonwood is, I think there's majority conservative there, but I'm not sure because Cottonwood keeps voting for and doing really, really silly things. They had an opportunity for a more conservative mayor.
They recalled the mayor too, right?
No, there's an election. They tried to recall the last goofy mayor who was COVID hysterics all the way. Yeah. And he didn't get recalled. He won re-election actually after his COVID tyrant tendencies. Cottonwood, a little town that you think, and this is the impact I think of California and all these outside stuff. Cottonwood's actually gone much more liberal than I could have ever imagined. Mm-hmm. And somebody who's pretty conservative, she lost on a recall.
There's a large area of Cottonwood that's not in the city limits. They're in the county.
Well, they consider themselves Cottonwood, but they're outside in the county. It's like Doney Park in Flagstaff, or that place outside of Kingman, Golden Valley. Right. They're not a town. So
you get thousands of people.
Yep. Well, that's the complaint in Flagstaff. Yeah. I had someone just yesterday. I was talking to her, and she's like, "I run a business in town, but now I got to deal with all these new taxes and stuff. You don't get a say if you're not incorporated.
Don't vote on it.
Start your own town. I mean, or incorporate your area or something like that. Or you got to get annexed into a town. But do you really want to be part of that? If you're in the outskirts. Yeah, but that's
just the fringe areas of a town, like here in Doney Park or in Cottonwood, the outskirts. They tend to be a lot more conservative, and then you get the city core that's not so much, and then they're the ones. It's just like Flagstaff too. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, I think that's about it for these. The local races and the legislative races. Any comments? Love to hear from you. Talk with Jeff at iCloud.com. That's talkwithjeff at iCloud.com. And you can catch the show as well. We'll have a lot more. Of course, if you're in Northern Arizona, 97.1 FM. If you're in the Prescott area, you can catch it on 107.9. I want to hit on what Trump's going to do. Maybe day one, day one, that was like Kamala Harris. Mm-hmm. So we'll be hitting on that. Plus you can stream it by going to talkwithjeff.com. That's talkwithjeff.com. You all take care. I'll see you soon. portions of the show may be pre-recorded. We do not give legal, medical, or financial advice. Please seek a competent professional for all matters. This show is for informational purposes only. If you're enjoying the show and you're listening or watching the podcast and you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button right now. Also, I'd appreciate it if you shared the show. We got all the links to all the different places you can watch it and listen to it at talkwithjeff.com. That's talkwithjeff.com.
This is the Jeff Oravits Show.